is up? Welcome to another episode of the Progress Podcast, the podcast where we help young people to learn that they have a purpose and the progress is possible for you in your life. Today, I am super stoked for our guest. Hunter Rasmussen is joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. It's been awesome. So.
Yeah. He has an incredible story that I can't wait for you guys to hear and for me to gain a little bit more details of, because I've heard some interviews from you and seen some of the incredible work that you're doing, but I don't really know the inside and how this all came to be.
Yeah.
And so if you just want to give an introduction to yourself and we can dive right into your story.
For sure. Yeah, so something to know about me is from a very young age, loved hunting, loved sports. Those were my two passions by far.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up doing all those, baseball, football, and wrestling were the main three.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I did those all the time. Like, I feel like that's all I thought about.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, that's how a young kid should be. And another cool thing that goes along with the story I'll tie in later is my parents didn't really know what to name me, but Hunter just always stuck. Like, it was just always Hunter, always Hunter. And so I feel like that passion of hunting was ingrained in me almost through my name, but my dad's side of the family was really big hunting too, and so we've always loved hunting.
Yeah.
And so growing up, did that, like I said, went throughout high school, didn't hunt as much as I'd like to because of sports and school and all that, which
if you
is
got
fine.
Baseball, football, wrestling, that puts
all year round.
Every season, yeah.
So I love those. And then it came to the point where I was like, okay, my senior year, middle of the year, I'm like, I always knew I wanted to serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was something that I just wanted to do. My parents always asked me, never forced me. They were like, do you want to? And I'm like, yeah. I had never said no, never really had like a counteractive, where I was like, no, I don't want to, or none of that. Like, it was always like, yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy for me to go make that decision to serve a mission. And so I went through with that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give up sports and hunting and consecrate 2 years of my life to go serve the Lord, which not only will I convert myself, but I'll help convert other people too.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty cool. So I got called to the Scottsdale, Arizona mission, Spanish speaking, which is pretty cool too. Got to learn Spanish. And for those of you who have never been to Arizona, don't go between like May and October. It's miserable. It's really hot, but I loved every second of it. Mm-hmm. It honestly, as soon as I got called there, I read my call and I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Because it was just like, it's Arizona. Like, it's not that far away.
Right.
And I was hoping to go like somewhere in South Central America, Spanish speaking.
Safari, adventure,
somewhere.
Yeah.
But no, Arizona. And so I learned a lot of things there that honestly helped prepare me for what was to come. I had no idea, right? None of us have no idea what tomorrow's going to look like or the next hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming home off my mission, I came home in August of 2023. So it's been a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it was like just such a normal coming home, where I came home, got a job, really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just hopped right into working. Worked as an electrician, worked as a concrete laborer, which those are both pretty dang hard.
Yeah.
With concrete, I worked 60-something hours a week.
Jeez.
And worked from 4 to 4 every day, 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. And luckily, I actually got to speak Spanish for 12 hours a day too, so it was pretty mentally and physically draining. So, but it was good. It like taught me like a different kind of work ethic in a way. So that was cool. And then I remember we were getting ready to go on a hunting trip in North and South Dakota, which we had planned for like a year into my mission. So I was like anticipating this trip, waiting to go.
Finally gonna scratch that itch.
And I was like, oh, this is time. So this is in November 2023. And I told my dad, I'm like, I like concrete labor. It's just like, it's not for me. The environment just isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just got home from my mission. Not that I was like being corrupted, but I was just like, it's just not for me. Like, I know there's something else better. So he's like, all right, whatever you want to do, like, that's your decision to make. And so I told my boss, I'm like, hey, I'm going to leave this day, and I actually leave the day after that.
Okay.
Because I was like, I'm just going to take a day off. That way I can figure out some things. And of course, what do? On a week before we go on a hunting trip, I go hunting a day before we go on a hunting trip.
The pregame.
Yeah, the appetizer meal before we go on the full course. So went with one of my best friends, who's actually my cousin. And we went duck hunting up at a spot we're very familiar with, up my cabin at Spanish Fork Canyon, and it was just like the best day ever. Like it was leading up to the point of the incident. It was picture perfect morning of duck hunting. Like ducks everywhere, clear blue skies. Like nothing seemed like it went wrong.
Yeah.
And it was just that was that, and it was like almost too good to be true kind of morning. And we were cleaning up our decoys, getting everything ready to leave, and we'd seen these ducks fly over our head and around the corner from us. And so I was like, let's go check that out. And so I led the way, and he was behind me. And right as I got up to the crest of the top of the hill, the gun went off and it struck me right in the back of the leg. And right in that moment, I knew exactly what happened. I was like, crap, because the gun went off, my leg gives out, and then my leg goes numb right below my knee, all the way down to my foot. So I can't feel my leg. And I just remember like being on the ground, I was like, okay, I don't have service. I need to get up and move. So I got up, walked like 30 yards up the hill, and then he's screaming, hey, get down, because you're bleeding out pretty bad. So he ripped my waders off me, saved my life that day too, because he knew how to do a tourniquet. We didn't have like an artificial one. He ripped his shirt off, grabbed the stick, tied it up, twisted it, and saved my life that way, which is pretty dang cool. Looking back and thinking about it, because I was like, if he didn't know how to do that, I would have bled out for sure. And so called 911, lost service multiple times. I ended up calling my mom. My mom called my dad. My dad called the police station up there, and then they were there within the next 30 to 40 minutes. And I was getting life flighted to the hospital. And the crazy thing is that I want to mention, it's a pretty important part of the story, is as I was sitting there waiting, I was there, but like my life was kind of flashing before my eyes. Like I knew that I wasn't going to die, even though like that thought comes in your head. I know I was going to die, but I didn't really know like what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But all I know is I had the Spirit telling me like everything's going to be okay. Like everything's going to work out. And after that, it was just like, I literally felt my heart rate go down, and I was a lot calmer, and I feel like that's honestly when the adrenaline wore off too, so then I was in a lot more pain, but.
Which is significant, because of your heart's pounding a million miles an hour and you're bleeding out.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Wow.
So then they life flight me to Utah Valley, which is just in Provo, and I remember right as I land on the landing strip, and they take me off the helicopter, my parents were right there, like waiting. And I gave them all my stuff, I had my pockets, whatever, and they both just said, hey, everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna work out. And I was like, that's crazy that, like, Spirit told me that, they told me that. Yeah. And so, it like gave me, like, thinking about, like, gives me chills just thinking about it, because it was just like, such a confirmation from the Spirit, for one. And two, like, in that moment, you don't know what's gonna happen. So they took me right in emergency surgery, and I went through a surgery called fasciotomy surgery, where they pretty much just sliced my leg open from the top of my ankle all the way up to my knee, because my leg was swelling so bad. Yeah. And then they go on the next day and did the same thing on the inside this time though, because of how bad the swelling was again. And so then they kind of find out days later that my leg like has no blood flow to my foot whatsoever. Like the one main artery runs from your groin to your foot was the only one that was intact. Everything else that branches off that was gone. Like not even, there's no blood flow. And so when they went in to do a third surgery to kind of breathe some muscle out and tissue out that was dying, because I was kind of getting sick, wasn't super sick at that point, but they're like, hey, we're probably going to amputate your leg. Right as I'm going into surgery. And there's no talk about it before, nothing. It was just like all like, spur of the moment, we're going to have to amputate your leg. And I was like, no. Like, we haven't even talked about it. And luckily my aunt's a nurse there. She worked there for 20 plus years, and she ran out and kind of chewed this doctor out, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, you can't say that to, a kid that just has gone through what he's gone through. So fast forward, they go with the surgery. They don't amputate it, but they kind of find out that like my leg's dying at a rapid pace because of that debris they went through. They're like, your leg's dying, and there's kind of nothing we can do to stop it. So they're like, we're gonna have to amputate it, but my aunt suggested a doctor who has done multiple amputations, like a lot, him and his partner, but he was 6 days out of getting me surgery. So at this point, I was getting sicker by the day because my body was dying, like my leg was dying, so I was letting off these toxins in my body that were killing me from the inside out, attacking my kidneys, organs, everything. And so I had like 103, 104 degree fever for 6 days straight.
I need to sneeze.
No,
sorry.
You're good. And so he finally gets to go through the amputation, everything works out and looks good, and like a day or two later, like, hey, your leg is still dying right behind your knee, like an increase of your knee. And I was like, gosh dang it. So then they go back in there, debride it, and then like if it keeps dying, I have to go above the knee. They gave me like a 10-15% chance that my leg was like I was gonna have a below the knee amputation. They're like, we're pretty sure I have to go above the knee. But there was like a 10-15% chance. So then a couple days later, like it's dying, not looking very good. And this is another miracle, kind of crazy. My stake presidency and the whole bishopric from my church ward shows up. And at the same time, didn't plan it, but they showed up at the exact same time, like walked in the room at the exact same time. They were like, we didn't know you guys are coming, like we didn't know you were coming either. Yeah. So they gave me a blessing, and like that same confirmation, like everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna work out, came through. And I was just like, I don't really know what that means, but like I'll trust you, God. Like with whatever's gonna happen, if you're saying it's gonna be okay, if I go above the knee, stay below the knee, whatever it is, I'm gonna trust you. And I kind of accepted my fate of going above the knee, in all honesty, because I just kind of felt like that's what was gonna happen, and I accepted it. And the next day, the nurse comes in to check my leg, and prior to this, when they gave me the blessing, my leg is still dying. Yeah. And it's brown and kind of black, and the next day they come in and they take like all the bandages off of it and look at it, and the nurse like runs out of the room. And my dad is in there with me. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. He sits up and he's like, what the heck? And I'm like, I don't know. She brings in a doctor and another nurse, and they all run out. And then like 3 more doctors come in, and they're freaking out. And my dad's like, what's going on? And my leg did like a full 180 where it was like no black or brown, it was all red, good viable tissue. Wow. And they're like, we've never seen anything like this before, never. And so God is very prevalent in my story. Like He's definitely the center of this. I wouldn't be able to do it without Him. And I think about that all the time. Like, I don't know. It doesn't matter if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ or not. If you don't have a relationship with God, I don't know how you can go through daily trials and things without having that relationship to even counsel with Him. Yeah. Right? And so that's kind of the main gist of my story. I went through a recovery phase for about 8 months of hyperbaric chamber treatment and having a wound vac, which is a thing that I wear all the time. It's like a man purse that was connected to my wound, where it's constantly sucking out the bad, but it's keeping the blood flow as well, so it helps heal it from the inside out pretty much. So I wear that for 8 months. Like, it was a very long, stressed out process, and I'm still dealing with complications of it, which is a crazy thing, and it's been just less than 2 years. Wow. Which is crazy. So.
Jeez. Thank you so much, Hunter, for your strength and the way you share so vulnerably and been very open about that whole experience. There's so much that I want to know about that process. And so we'll just have to dig in one thing at a time. Yeah. First thing I'm curious, you kind of mentioned during that 30 to 40 minute interim period while you're waiting for rescue to come, you're there with your cousin, your best friend. What kind of experiences are you having then, right as soon as it happens?
Yeah, that was a great question. For one, I knew it was an accident. I knew it wasn't something he did on purpose, and we really don't even know what happened. Know how it happened still to this day. Obviously, gun safety wasn't used. The barrel was pointing at me, but other than that, we don't really know how it happened. And I knew it was an accident, so I forgave him. 2 days later in the hospital.
Oh, okay.
And I wish I would have forgiven him there, but I was so out of it.
Dude, you had to survive.
Yeah. I was in fight or flight mode, but at that time, like I said, like my life was just like flashing before my eyes, and I had a million thoughts running through my head of like what's gonna happen now, like what does the future hold, like what does your life look like a year from now, and that confirmation of that everything's gonna be okay just popped right in my head. Yeah, and I knew it was a spirit right away. And so it was crazy because we were both freaking out. I mean, as someone probably would in that situation. Yeah. But I just remember we said a prayer because we were both pretty flustered and we both kind of calmed down, and then he was able to put a tourniquet on me, and then I had the confirmation. So power of prayer is real for sure. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just so, like I like if I didn't have a testimony of God or Jesus Christ then, that would have solidified it for me.
Yeah.
I've had way too many experiences, and I have faith to know that God could help me in that moment, which I think is what He did too.
Yeah.
Because I knew the power that He had.
Dude, there's something about desperation
Mm-hmm.
that allows us to connect with deity differently than before. But the crazy thing is, I think we're always just as desperate for God to give us life as any other moment.
Yeah.
But things like this help you to recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now He's the one keeping us alive.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to forget until something earth-shattering happens,
Yeah.
like it did for you. And I'm sure there have been prayers since then
Oh yeah.
that have been, similar level of
Mm-hmm.
really needing God to carry you through.
Oh,
Dude,
totally.
it's so incredible. I thank you for sharing about the relationship with your cousin.
Yeah.
I think even, same kind of miracle you've experienced with physical healing with your body,
Yeah.
you're still able to keep the leg below the knee and things like that. Having a relationship heal, especially a relationship that close,
Yeah.
that's a miracle too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've spoken with some folks before who have had limbs amputated.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience like? Do you have any, what do they call those, phantom
Phantom
pain?
pains.
Tell me about what kind of mobility you have. And
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. My surgeon, it's a new surgery they're doing, where they pretty much rewire the nerve in your leg to basically make a circuit back up.
Okay.
So there's no, because the old surgery they used to do is they used to pretty much snip the nerves off. To where they would kind of ball up within your leg, which is what causes that phantom pain. But he made it to where it's like a circuit, where it circuits back through. So he told me after about a year and a half, I would have 0, and I'm pretty much there.
wow.
To where I hardly have any. At first, it was like on the hour, every hour, and it was miserable because the only way I can explain it is if someone is taking like a taser and tases your leg when you don't know it, and you're not even expecting it, because it just jolts your whole body, and it's weird, and it's like you feel your foot like shock, but your foot's just not there.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest part too. But as far as mobility goes, I have full mobility in my knee.
Yeah.
Like when I was able to wear a prosthetic a couple months ago, like I'd go to the gym, I'd squat, deadlift, all that.
Dude, I see your videos. You guys need to see his videos too.
Yeah.
It's incredible, just your determination and your resilience. And it seems like you kind of developed that growing up.
Yeah.
Just living a life where you were really athletic and committed to making progress there.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you have learned to help you cope with the emotional pain?
Yeah.
And kind of saying goodbye to the life that you might have imagined before, and learning a new meaning to that phrase that God impressed upon your mind of everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. That's honest. I love what you just said, because my identity was shaken.
Mm-hmm.
It was shaken big time. I didn't know who I was. And I'm still in the process of figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured it out a lot more since then, because the Hunter Rasmussen I knew was one who was athletic, always doing something, hunting, like that was me.
Yeah.
But it feels like that Hunter was put on the shelf, and it felt like that Hunter was never going to come back. And so I was like, how do I, for one, like re-identify myself?
Yeah.
Like, what am I gonna do? Because it really did feel like that was stripped from me of, this isn't you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like I've gotten some of the things back. Like, I still ride horses, I still lift.
Yeah.
So I go to the gym. I can't play sports like I want to yet. I'm getting there.
Yes, sir.
But it's like, I had to really find out, like, who is Hunter Rasmussen? Deep down, like, who is he? And the thing that came was, one, I'm the son of God. Like, that's my true identity, is one, you're a son of God. And that, for anyone that's listening, like, that is your identity. You are a son or daughter of God. And no matter what happens, no matter how alone or how downtrodden, sorrowful you feel, like you are a son or daughter of God. And that's something I really had to realize. Was like, and two, that He loves me.
Yeah.
And that He wouldn't put me in a situation for me to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a split second where I was like, how am I going to do this? But it was almost a slap in the face from the Spirit. It was like, well, what do you mean I can do it? You have me.
Wow.
Right? And so those two things are definitely my top two.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm a son of God and I know that He loves me. So why would He put me in situations and let me fail? And I'm not saying that God let the situation happen, but I think I almost, before this life, agreed, like, hey, I'll go through this. And my other thing is too, I guess a third one is like, if I agree to go through with this before this life, and I went through that veil of forgetfulness, and I came to this earth, what good did I see? Like, what good am I going to do, or what reward or things that I see are way greater than this loss of a limb? Like, what things did I see where I'm like, oh, I'll do that 100% because I see those things in the future that are going to benefit me and my family and the future.
Right.
So I'm like, those are the three things that like really keep me going. And I guess for that emotional side of things, whenever I feel down, there's days still. It's crazy, like that. It's so day by day. I don't even know how to explain it. It's weird. But one day I am at the gym and I'm like loving life, and things just feel like they couldn't get any better. And then the next day I wake up and my leg is swollen or it hurts, and I'm like, gosh, gotta go through this again. And it's almost like this domino effect, but it's like, how do I stop a domino effect? I have to go through those three things.
Yeah.
Tell myself, bang, bang, bang. Those
So
are all three of them.
So powerful. Yeah, what a good place to turn no matter what the obstacle is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a meditation teacher who said that life is a series of experiences to teach you where you're not free.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in many ways, the struggle that you're going through and a lot of physical ailments, folks can feel like it's a trap.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways that's fair, but from what you've expressed, it seems almost like, in a way, this trap or this struggle has liberated you from another cage, which is identifying yourself by something that's not eternal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that can be taken away. Your abilities as an athlete,
Oh, yeah.
like I said, they were put on the shelf for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
but it allowed you to find another space of freedom within your mind,
Yeah.
where you know you're a child of God and you can overcome anything.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what happens to you externally, you have the ability to transcend.
Yeah.
And so,
Totally.
I love what you shared there.
I like that a lot.
You are quite the impressive public speaker and motivational speaker, and
Thank you.
you know, Hunter's, he stood on stages all over the place, sharing messages so inspiring, especially coming from you.
Yeah.
I mean, the experiences you've had. I love watching the videos of you talking with young kids,
Yeah.
because they need to be prepared for what's going to happen in their life.
Mm-hmm.
It might be something like this, but it's going to be something different for everybody.
Right.
Is that a dream that kind of hatched out of this experience, or tell us about that?
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like God gave me a gift to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that developed on my mission as I spoke to people every day.
Yeah.
And I had opportunities to speak in churches all the time. Like, God definitely prepared me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't see it, which a lot of us don't see it until after we go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. But this definitely developed after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember I was in the hospital still, and people were like, you need to share your story.
Wow.
And my mom and dad brought it up to me. I had people reaching out to me and be like, we want you to come speak to our youth in a month. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do.
I don't know if I can walk in a month. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. Like, so it's something that like people saw something in me that I didn't quite see in myself yet.
Wow.
Where they were like, you should do this. And then as soon as I started doing it, I'm like, oh yeah, like this is it.
Yeah.
You know, like this is what I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my favorite part of speaking isn't speaking itself, which is kind of weird to say as a motivation, like being a motivational speaker. But one of my favorite parts is after I'm done, and I have the opportunity to talk to people, and they're like me and you on right now. And since I was vulnerable on stage in front of that many people, they open up to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is what I've been going through. And since you shared this, this, and this helped me with my trial that I'm going through right now, or that that my family, like I want to share this with my family member, or whatever it is. Like that is probably my favorite part. Is hearing what other people go through. I know that sounds like cliche, I guess, but it's like I love hearing other people's stories because for one, it helps me like create another story that I can share with people.
Right.
But two, it's like people are so much more powerful than they think.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it until they share their story.
Right.
In all reality, like
Oh man.
until you share what you've gone through, you don't really realize, like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty awesome. I can get through hard things. So.
I can feel the electricity in what you're sharing, right? The energy and just the passion that you have for it. I think there's a lot of profound lessons in that.
Yeah.
I love especially the idea of just being the first domino. Somebody needs to be vulnerable in order to create a society where folks can feel like it's safe.
Yeah.
And they can belong even with whatever they're struggling with, dealing with, and feeling. And as a speaker as well, dude, I love to speak.
Yeah.
When you said this is it, that is how I feel every single time.
Yeah.
Even when I blow it, like make mistakes and learn from them, I'm still like, this is the most exhilarating thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And for me, this podcast, actually, the whole reason I started it, I don't even know if I've told the listeners this, but I started this thing so that I have credibility as a speaker.
Yeah.
Before this podcast, you look my name up on the internet, there's nothing. Now there's like all these interviews and there's something.
Right.
And that was my idea behind it. But the reality is exactly what you shared, that it's made me so much better as a speaker. I have so much more to draw from than just my own experience, because I get to learn from folks like you.
Other people.
And your power, your story, your influence. And in many ways, my role here is a listener, which is it seems like the opposite of what you do on stage. But the reality is the best speakers are the best listeners.
Yeah.
And especially if you can listen not just with your ears, but with your eyes. And you can see how your words are impacting the audience, even if it's just one individual.
Yeah.
If you can see what they need, and just, I think the Spirit guides it. You gotta listen. You gotta listen to your gut. You gotta listen to God telling you, and let His voice flow through you in certain moments. And when that happens, it's humbling.
Yeah. Every time I get on stage, I pray my heart out before I get on stage. Because in all reality, when you speak to people, and if you're nervous, it's because you're thinking about yourself and what you're gonna share. But in all reality, you're like, what am I going to share with them that's going to benefit them? Like you need to be thinking about them instead of yourself.
Right.
And so whenever I get nervous, I'm like, hey, no, like what do they need to hear? Like I don't really care like why I'm nervous. I'm just nervous because it's like I want to make sure that they are moved or they take something away from this. But in reality, it's like, no. Why am I sharing my story, and what else am I going to share on top of that that's going to benefit them? And that's where God comes in to help lead you and guide you through that.
Yeah.
But
comes from a place of service, which is so empowering, especially as a coping tool for mental illness.
Yeah.
And when I say mental illness, I don't mean just like folks who are diagnosed with something chronic, but I think it applies for that as well as for just normal type of mental illness.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had down moments, man.
Oh, totally.
When you don't have the ability to move your body, when you're unsure about the future. But service is such an antidote for those experiences. Not that it's going to solve it all, but it does give relief and perspective.
Yeah, because you don't think about yourself.
Yeah.
You think about other people.
Yeah. I would love to hear from you. If we look at your story on paper, there's a lot of ways that you have defied the odds. Surprise the doctor, surprise other people in your life.
Yeah.
I think surprise the devil in a lot of ways. He might have thought that this would keep you down, but God has other plans for you. Tell us about what it means to you to defy the odds.
Yeah. My parents would probably tell you that if the doctors tell me it's probably not a good idea, I'm probably gonna do it. And that's a really bad example, but like, for example, it's probably it was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. I had a melanoma prosthetic for like a month and a half. And I really wanted to go look for elk sheds in southern Utah. And they were like, yeah, that's probably not the best idea because if you fall off your horse, you could hurt your leg. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go do it. and we ended up having a successful trip. And it's funny because I was going up a hill and a branch whacked me right off my horse, and I did a backflip down the mountain.
Jeez.
But it was just like, my thing is like when I think of like people are like, you probably shouldn't do that because of your leg. I think to myself like, it's so hard for me just to be like, okay, well, if I don't, then I'll be like, oh, I definitely could have done that. And I almost feel like I'm limited, which I hate feeling limited. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves is when I feel limited, I feel like not powerful or like not motivated to do anything. And so that might not be the best example, but it's like, I don't know, it just, even the fact of like getting up and waking up to go to the gym in the morning is so hard for me to do. Because for one, it's like, for a long time I had to wake up, disconnect myself from my wound vac that I had that was connected to me while I sleep, and I disconnect the hose, take off my clothes, put the hose through my clothes, put them back on, connect it back together, put the wound back on, go upstairs, start my truck, and then all doing this all on crutches too.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know, it's just, that's been like one of my big things is like, defying the odds that are against you is so, I don't even know how to explain it. It just, when you do it, and you do it full force, 100%, it's so much more fulfilling. Because you can definitely defy the odds 80%, 70%. But one of my like favorite, I guess, quotes that someone has, one of my really good buddies, his name's Mark. He's down in St. George. He's an amputee as well. His like slogan is "No quit."
Yeah.
And I love that because I feel like people that, I guess, we talked about this kind of funny. People that are like amputees have like the most, I don't want to say I have ADHD, but it's pretty dang close to where it's like we're just able to adapt.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone has that ability. Like it's ingrained in our DNA for us to be able to adapt, to make the changes we need to defy the odds, like you said, to keep going, and to put one foot in front of the other. And I literally have to put one foot in front of the other for a very long time, on crutches, 8 months, and the longest 8 months of my life. But they were the best 8 months I could have as far as like figuring out who I am, like we talked about before. Yeah. Because I feel like as soon as you figure out who you are, defying the odds gets easier. It was way harder for me to wake up and go to the gym and do the things that like I wanted to do, because I was like, what am I doing? Like what? Like why am I even? Not necessarily like why am I here, but it's like what am I doing this for? Because I just felt like I wasn't actually there, in a way. Right? I don't even know how to explain it. It's weird, but it's like, okay, no, this is Hunter's the son of God, knows that God and Jesus Christ love him, and those are like really the two things I needed. So hopefully that answers your question.
When you discover a limit, something that's impossible, it's your next goal.
Yeah.
That's unconquerable spirit right there. When you know who you really are, the odds are in your favor. You recognize that nothing can stop you as a child of God. Oh man, that's incredible. Well, thank you so much for the power that you've shared with us. Yeah. And what I love most about this conversation is that you're in the middle of your journey right now.
Oh yeah.
Like everything that you speak about, it's not theoretical. It's not an idea of what might work. It's what is bringing you forward, helping you to progress day by day. Like these are the principles that you stand on right now.
Yep. 100%.
And so they're proven it. I love that about you.
Thank you.
So I'd love for you to share, just for those listening, where can we connect with you if somebody wants to, get a speaking engagement from you? Share those things, and then we'll dive into maybe one last question.
Yeah. So I'll have Noah link my Instagram name, but it's _legged_hunter. I know it's kind of hard, but there's a lot of one-legged hunters out there. Yeah. So I had to come up with something creative. But if you just look up the name Hunter Rasmussen, I should pop up, especially if you're in Utah. And also, side note, I have a book coming out.
Wow.
Hopefully by the end of summer.
Okay.
That's the goal, is by the summer. Just about for pretty much from the beginning of my life till now, till the present time, and everything that I've gone through, like through my whole accident in detail, and what I'm doing, how I defied the odds, all that. I'm gonna go into all that. So be looking for that. For those of you who follow me from this podcast, that's something that I'm really excited about. I also have a documentary coming out that's gonna be pretty cool too within the next month or two. So big things are coming.
No kidding.
And I couldn't be more grateful. God has definitely blessed me a lot.
Yeah,
So,
that's incredible, man. And I can't wait to see the big things that are still down the road. I'd love for you to share with us. You've shared so much that's directly on target for why we're here on the Progress Podcast. You know, I started this show for my younger self, somebody who didn't know yet who he was or the progress that he was capable of, his potential, his purpose. And so I'd love for you to share, for those listening, what have you learned about the nature of progress from your life?
Yeah. So I think it all kind of dates back to what we talked about from the beginning of like when I was even born. So I originally grew up not from where I'm from right now. I grew up from a different town, and the reason why I moved is because for one, I didn't really like it. I just didn't like it. Didn't really like the vibe of the school. Just wasn't for me. And at that time, I was overweight. I was this just pudge ball of a kid. So I got bullied for being fat, which I was like, whatever. And so I remember we moved to where I live now the next summer. My parents told me, they're like, pray and tell me where we should go. So I was like, fine, I'll do that. So we prayed, and I was like, I think we should move here. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you guys pray back, let me know. So they did it, came back to me like a couple days later, and like, all right, let's do it. So we just literally put up our house for sale and moved that summer.
Wow.
And I just remember that summer, I worked my butt off, went to the gym all the time, and got in shape. And it's like, as soon as I did that, like I had friends, I was playing sports. And so it's like the one thing I want to mention too is like, I remember my mom's always taught me this, which has been like the greatest piece of advice I can give anyone. When you put God first in your life, everything else will just fall into place as it should be. Like, without a doubt, the days that I don't read my scriptures or listen to a conference talk or anything like that, I notice a huge difference. Like yesterday, for example, I got to work earlier and started doing stuff, and I just forgot to read my scriptures, to listen to my scriptures. And because I have an alarm set, the alarm went off, and I just turned it off because I was in the middle of work, and then I forgot. And throughout the day, I was like, I feel different. I'm like, what is going on? And then I remembered, and I literally read my scriptures like on my lunch break, and then the rest of the day was like so smooth. Everything went by just so good. So it's like, for one, put God first, and you will see progress. Especially if you add Him into your prayer. It's like, God, this is what I would like help with. Help me to do it. Help me to know the steps I need to take to get that done and to progress towards that goal. He's gonna help you. And as long as you keep your end of the deal, where it's like you're putting in the work too, He's gonna be there to meet you. So, and that's been every aspect of my life. I mean, ever since then, it's just like with sports, that was my thing, is just 1% better every day. That was like my slogan in high school for sports, is like 1% better every day. And as I did that, progress. Really progress. And so that's something I've carried with me into this too, is I try to get 1% better every day, and at least one aspect of my life. So,
thank you so
much.
much.
Answered your question.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Appreciate you, Hunter.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Progress Podcast.